All right, good evening and welcome to Sunday Evening Coffee. I am Brian, and sitting right beside me tonight is my beautiful wife, Crystal. Say hello, baby.
Hey, guys.
Down at the other end of the table, we have Jason and Jennifer Zach. Say what's up.
Yeah. What up? Here for our special Valentine's episode.
It is a special Valentine's episode. It's a little closer.
With our Christmas dishes.
Yeah. All the rest of them were dirty from last night.
Yeah.
Bad, poor planning.
Yeah, it was a bad deal. And we've got George and Carlotta Brooks. Say what's up.
What's up? Hello.
Yep. So we do have all of our treats are on a nice Christmas dish.
So last night we had some people over, and there's nothing like realizing you have more people than you do big, large, regular plates in your home. And I forgot to buy any throwaway ones. So therefore, I had to, at the last minute, run out and grab the Christmas dishes out of the garage and bring them in.
Which we didn't use last night, but we did use today.
I only used a couple last night because I forgot to start the dishwasher when we went to bed.
It's all good.
So, poor planning.
Yeah, she opened the dishwasher. Did we not start these last night?
Yeah.
No, we didn't. I don't.
Yeah.
It just looks festive.
Yeah.
It doesn't scream Christmas.
Yeah, I was hoping that maybe nobody
looks
would
red like
notice it,
Valentine's.
but
That's
since
right.
Jason pointed
It's
it
just
out.
We're real here.
I was going to point it out anyway. So there was, speaking of looking Christmassy on Valentine's, there was a lady today at church that had on a black sweater that I thought had like a poinsettia on it. And she had like red pants on and like a black sweater with, and I thought it was a poinsettia, so I got closer and I was like, oh, it's like a rose. But I thought she is still trying to hang on to the Christmas sweaters.
It is cold
Well, it's
outside.
cold. I know. Well, we didn't
It
get
is
to
cold.
do cold Christmas, so
Yeah.
cold,
That's right.
Cold Valentine's.
Yeah, it's for sure cold. Yeah, so we're back at more snow again. It's snowing now. 70 snow.
It's like 50. I know. Yeah. It's back in the 50s.
Is it
and
really?
almost 60s.
Yeah.
And speaking of snow, snow is not George's friend. George totaled his truck Wednesday night.
I did.
Were you
Flipped
the
it.
one on the bike house?
Yes.
Yeah.
That was me.
That was him.
I know, right?
He was the one that Pastor Galen said, "There's wrecks. Don't go." He shut down one side.
It was slick.
Well, what had happened? It started raining, and then once I guess it got cold enough, it just turned ice.
Mm-hmm.
So I was coming back headed towards church, and was in the left-hand lane. Lady just slammed on the brakes, just locked them up. I jumped in the right, and there's a guy just got on to have him right there at exit 6. He just got on, so he really wasn't going too fast. So in order not to hit him, I jumped back in the left-hand lane, and then I just hit ice, and she skidded one way or another. Spin around, I'm looking at oncoming traffic.
Oh, Lord.
Hit the guardrail, flipped on top of the hood, on the roof of the truck. That's all she wrote. That was it.
Were you scared?
No, no. I mean seriously, I wasn't. The part that got me once I knew I was gonna hit the guardrail. I just closed my eyes. It was like, well, whatever happened at this point.
Lord Jesus, take the wheel.
Yeah, we was in it for the ride. At that
Getting
point.
his, football helmet out of the floor.
Well, he's as big as the truck. I think that's the other thing. Like
Pretty
literally, it's like the little kid in the Tonka truck. That's what he looks
And
like.
if you see the pictures, I know everybody keeps asking me, "Did you have your seatbelt on?" I didn't, and
We do not recommend this at home.
yeah, I don't recommend this.
You should always wear your
seatbelt.
seatbelt.
But
It's amazing you were not hurt. That's actually probably why
I crawled
he
out of the
wasn't. It crushed the driver's side.
It crushed the driver's side. So
So when it hit the guardrail, it must have slung him over to the passenger side, and that's the only part of the truck. So God was using the truck to keep him all in one. He literally just
And
had
using
to
his
stretch
lack of wisdom wearing a seatbelt to save his life.
I like you too much for this to be it.
I know, right?
Wow. God can work with anything.
That's right.
It was like, he would have figured it out, seatbelt or not. So he was like, we'll do this, no seatbelt.
So, okay, I'm going to tell a funny story about a wreck in a guardrail. My Aunt Anita, it wasn't funny at the time. It's funny now. She had a very serious accident probably, 3 years ago?
Yeah.
Or so. She flipped her car end over end. She hit a guardrail and flipped. And my whole life, She loves sweets, like a lot. Sweets and Diet Cokes, that's her thing. So she was driving back from Kentucky, and she was trying to open her honey bun and open her Diet Coke. And in the process, she ran off the road and hit the guardrail.
No.
And it was over the honey bun.
Does she still eat them to this day?
Oh, yeah. She still loves the honey bun and a Diet Coke. And she was like, I remember. Like, I was trying to open it.
Save the buds.
So, yes. That's my 2 cents.
Well, George did, however, have a gentleman that ran up to him and was like, "Do you know Jesus?"
Aww.
And he was like, "Yeah, I'm on my way to church." And he's like, "I was too, but now I'm going home." So it kind of had the reverse reaction on the other guy.
I was too, but I don't want to meet him right now, so I'm going to go back to the house.
At least he was going to get you saved if you did.
I didn't.
Right.
I thought he had one. He was like, "I got one."
Yeah.
He's like, "That was."
He was shooting at me.
Lord, I wasn't fishing, but the pond is full. So I'll just go ahead and
That's great.
So I'll just tell you in the front end, we're going to do 2 episodes out of this. We're going to have a break in a little while, but I want to make sure that you guys know in the front end you need to stay tuned for the second part of their story, because it's really phenomenal. And I'll tell you this on the front end, I can't tell you how many conversations we have had about you guys, just about the level of faith and the things that you've been through and the way that you truly, probably maybe more so than anybody that I've ever experienced, have walked out your faith. And so you guys be sure to listen to the second part of this too. So we'll go ahead and dive in, and you guys just kind of walk us through your story, how you met, what you're doing, what life was like, and then we'll jump into the second part afterwards. So
Take it away.
So we originally met in 1998 working at UPS. We actually started working there at the same time. And I actually did not notice him. He saw me and thought I was cute.
Just so everybody knows.
Yes, we can just put that out front. Apparently he noticed me in training. But I did not notice him. But being that I was a girl working at UPS, there was a lot of attention at UPS. But I loaded trucks and he was an unloader. And then that's kind of how we met. But we were just friends, didn't date. We hung out a lot and we flirted a lot, but we were not a couple.
Yeah, we were just friends.
We were not boyfriend and girlfriend. So there were no labels to anybody. But it was funny, we would sit in each other's cars, like we would get off shift and hang out literally in the parking lot till the next shift would get off, and they were like, well, y'all could have just worked another shift. And, so we would talk for hours, like sitting out in the parking lot or go to Waffle House. And we did that for, I guess, like a year.
Yeah.
And then I got him. Yeah.
we didn't date. We just sat in the car and talked.
I wasted a lot of time.
Like it was we did do it. We talked, and I think that's the thing. We were friends, which on the flip side, that means we really knew each other. Like that's when you show all the stuff that if you were dating them, you probably
would had it.
Yes, you'd cover all that up. And then somewhere in there, like I liked him enough and I thought he was cute enough that I passed his test for him to get on the sort aisle so we could work together. Well, UPS can be over that. But it got us both $1 raise and then we could hang out, but he would get in trouble constantly because he was just throwing boxes wherever because he did not know where they were supposed to go.
That's what happens when you don't take your own test.
Yes, because I remember sitting beside him like, no. And then somewhere in there, but now we were very much still doing our own thing. Like I still was going out with my girlfriends and still like doing me, and he was still doing him. So that's his stuff.
I don't know what
but like I said, we weren't a couple. So all of a sudden, one day he just disappeared. Not being funny. Like I came into work one day, and he was totally gone. And a lot of the guys then at that point filled me in on where he probably was and everything that had happened, being very haterish on him. And they were just waiting for an opportunity.
They wanted my spot.
Because he was such a good sorter.
Exactly.
But yeah, I'll let you. That's your own stuff. But that's how we met.
I disappeared for a year. During that time, This was before church. So.
Yeah, this is all before
BC,
church.
BC.
This is
BC,
all
BC.
before church.
No, I had a young lady. She was pregnant at the time. So when my daughter got here, I disappeared. I left. I went to do other things, and yeah.
Yep, he disappeared.
Keep it short and sweet. That's what
But he got
happened.
another he got another job that paid more money so on the back end, finding that kind of stuff out. Not that it didn't. Still, I was like, oh, he was a jerk. Yeah, that was still a part of the idea.
She badmouthed to a couple of people.
To a few. But we had a few mutual friends, but I guess it was probably about 2 years later.
No, because Tyler had just turned 2 when we got back
So
together.
yeah, maybe about 18. Yeah, so maybe about 18 months or something like that. So we started just bumping into each other. So I was at the mall with my mom, and he was walking by, and we just kind of said hi or whatever. And we had ran into each other.
Did you notice him when he walked by?
No, I did. I noticed him. No, I did. Well, no, here's the funny thing. I noticed him, but it was just like, you messed up. So
She put a little more swish in
you
her.
messed up. So, and then it was funny because literally like 2 weeks later, I was dumping my current boyfriend outside of my mom and dad's house. And I look up and his car drives down the street. And I'm like, well, that's weird. And it slows down but doesn't stop. And the guy was dumping. He was like, do you know them? I'm like, yeah, but that's not got to do with what we're doing. So finished breaking up with him. And then I had, which that ended up being a conversation later with the ex when he seen us together, and it was like, that's the same car. But I was not. So, and then literally, I guess it was a couple weeks later, and at this point, I am done, not with men forever, but I was going to do I need to focus on me. I have been in relationships, we've done this, and it's like, yeah, we're done. So, and about a week later, after making that clarification, he shows up.
God knew what you needed.
Apparently.
There you go.
Apparently. He just needed me to stop doing stuff on my own, apparently. So I literally had went with a friend, and we went to Walmart, and he's dropping me off, and it was a guy, but it was a friend. So he's dropping me off, and he's on my porch talking to my dad. So we pull up, and he was like, so what's that? I was like, I don't know. Yeah. I was like, I just got here like you. I don't know. So then I get out and we chit chat for a minute, but he actually had given his cell phone number to my dad to give to me. Which it was weird, but
I got your dad's approval.
That's right. Go right to that. Go right to that.
He did. It was really funny because like he's really probably the only guy my dad has liked, and it probably was literally this guy came to the door and actually talked to me. Yeah. And he didn't know him from me knowing him at UPS, so he didn't know him. So, but no, so we do that, and then literally that night we actually went out as friends with a group of friends because he had a friend that was trying to hit on me. And it was like, well, side note, apparently he told his friend, you're not her type, and he just didn't listen, so
she would like you.
Very,
I tried to.
So, and it was funny because after that day, for the most part, I was very upfront. I'm like, I'm not dating. We're not going to date. I am not dating. I am taking some me time. But I'd say probably every day he would either call or be like, hey, you want to go grab something to eat or you want to watch a movie? So inadvertently, we probably hung out.
Yeah, that's dating.
Inadvertently from like May till September, just probably about every day we were hanging out. And then September the 10th, we were at his mom and dad's house, and he actually asked me to be his girlfriend. But I was, no, seriously, like I was very adamant. Like I was mean sometimes. Like,
yeah.
I believe that.
Yeah. No, there were times it was like ugly mean, like, I don't know why you're sticking around. You can go because this is not happening. And then he would come back.
But call me tomorrow and we'll hang out.
But then he would call the next day, and I'm like, you keep saving yourself for this. That's fine.
Well, see, I messed up the first time, so.
And I reminded him that often. That although, like I said, when we weren't dating, I'm like, you just really jacked up. So, like on the day, it recurred fairly often. So, but that day we became a couple. So technically, we have known each other for 17 years. We have dated for 15, and we've been married.
So did you grow up in church, Carlotta?
No.
No. George, did you grow up in church?
Somewhat. My mother was Catholic. My father was so-called Baptist. I had an aunt that used to come pick me up, and she would take us to church for a little while, but she passed away. And then after that, I used to go with my mom sometimes, and that was just because she went to a cathedral right around the corner from IHOP. So
You go have some IHOP after mass.
every time after that, we'd go to IHOP.
Yeah.
So I would go hang out, but I mean, nothing concrete. It was kind of if I wanted to. So, yeah.
And for me, my mom and dad both grew up in church very much. If senior choir, kids choir, whatever was open, they were at church. But me being biracial, and I was born in 77. You were born in 79.
Straight or wrong.
Whatever. So during that window, it was really difficult to find a church that was really,
So for those of you who are not watching YouTube right now, George just poured too much root beer into his cup and had to immediately bend over and try to get all the foam up for it.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
It was getting there. I thought it was going to stop. Kind of like that.
Yes, too much. But no, so they really had a hard time finding a church where it was really, the Bible says love thy neighbor, but when you take a biracial family into an all-white church or an all-black church, love thy neighbor kind of really goes out the door.
So just out of curiosity, and I've been to a couple of black churches, but I haven't spent a ton of time, so it was equally as hard to find a black church to go to.
Oh, yes. There's not really, and I hate to say it that way, I think a lot of people think, oh, the church people are probably nice. No, they're not. They won't even necessarily. They didn't even necessarily smile. What was funny now, I would say probably with some of the difference I've seen, like at the black churches, was they would talk about how pretty I was, but would totally shun like my mom was even standing there. There.
So let me give you a second.
It's all right. It doesn't matter.
So one of the children who will remain nameless just went to the half bath, which is just right on the other side of this wall, and peed with the door open. So if you heard that, just so you know what that was.
Nobody was running water.
Oh my gosh, that's so awesome.
Oh, that's so funny.
Good times.
Oh, he's a cutie. I know, he's a cutie. But yeah, no, it would be, and it was one of the things I would hear racial slurs. And it didn't matter which church. It was either, black church, it was typically blonde-eyed, blue-eyed devil. Black church, obviously, it was the N-word and different stuff like that. So mom and dad was like, we can't do this. So we didn't go to church. Mom and dad, and they didn't actually like read out of the Bible or anything like that, but they pretty much kind of raised me with the golden rule, like do unto others as they would do on you. And my mom and dad, probably for most parents' sake, seem really boring because they didn't drink, they didn't do anything, they never went out.
How long have they been married?
Oh my goodness, I'm 38, so 40 years. I think this summer makes 40 years for them. So good people, but like I said, just wasn't a time frame to find a church. So me growing up, I had a really bad view of church people,
right? Yeah, I'm sure.
And what the church looked like. To be honest, it didn't have anything to do with God or Jesus, because I was like, I don't know them at all. Just the people that make the place up are awful. And I mean, I'm talking about hearing not just out of the congregation, like things out of pulpits. So no, not just
crazy. I just can't.
Well, for me, I think now looking at it, I'm like, that was the devil's way of going, I need to keep her out, and this is an easy one. Especially, I mean, because if you think about it, to be able to keep a whole family out of church, you can totally derail what
absolutely.
Could have been.
It's like what you hear also.
Yeah.
You take it out of the context of what's being preached and stuff like that. So if the devil's putting it in your mind that hey, this is what's going on, that's what you're gonna hear no matter what is really truly coming out of the pulpit.
Yep.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I think with that being said, you know, so for me, and not just that, and then I had friends that would go to church, and I'm like, we're living the same lifestyle, and I may not be a Christian, but I know God's probably not okay with that.
Yeah.
So, I'm going to say not the best of witnessing in different
Like Gandhi
stages.
says, I like your Jesus, I just don't like your Christians. You know?
Yes.
That's the way it is.
So, yeah. So, I think for me, that was kind of where it was like, yeah, I'm not doing this church thing because they're not doing this. You're just sitting in this room to be a hypocrite. So, that was really the devil's mindset to kind of turn me away from anything in that manner, to the point where when we got married, I was like, I'm not getting married in church, because I was like, didn't grow up in church. I have no relationship with a church, so why? Now, we did have a pastor marry us, though, however, which was George's, it's a family, it's a cousin that married us, and actually he married George's mom and dad. So I was like, okay. I was like, but we got married at a hotel. Plus, I was cheap, and I was like, we can do it all here. I was like, this is going to save us money. We can do all of it here. Nobody has to drive anywhere.
You're savvy. You're
yes.
So how long, again, after you guys kind of got back together before you actually got married?
When you officially started dating to when you...
We dated for 4 years.
Yeah, so we started dating in 2001, and then in 2004... I told him that, because we started living together probably about 2002. We got a townhouse and we were living together. The infamous, it's cheaper, and you know, all that stuff.
No, it was
and
2001, buddy.
No, it really wasn't. Well, it was somewhere almost. It was about January.
We got the townhouse, and then I went on the road.
I think that's what it is.
By yourself.
I lived by myself because he was over the road, so it was almost like he came and played house on the weekend. Because he was gone like 2 to 3 weeks at a time, so it was really like I had a townhouse. His name was on it, but yeah, it was pretty much I was just there. So I think that's why it seems like it was a while before he was really there. And then somewhere about 2004, though, I was like, okay, I'm done. I was like, I'm getting older, and either we're going to get married. And we had talked about it. Like, before we moved in together, we talked a lot about marriage and could see that in the future. But then it was like, hey, it's been like 3 years. So I don't know what
I'm going to
future
need you
is.
to either do this or let's do something else.
And I even told him, I was like, it won't be in hard feelings. It's either we're doing this or we're done. But what I didn't know is that he actually had already been looking for rings, and I almost got myself unproposed to. Because he doesn't do ultimatums very well at all. And I didn't really use soft words very well at that point. I don't, but Jesus has done a lot since then.
I was going to say,
I'm like, Jesus has done some numbers since then. But like through that whole time, though, of us dating, we're not in church, weren't involved in church. Very much still, you know, it's funny. We look at it now and like our relationship looked great in comparison to like our other worldly friends. When you looked at it then, like we weren't that bad. But looking at it now, it's like that was some serious dysfunction. Like, there is a lot of dysfunction in there. But no, so that Christmas Eve, he actually proposed, which yet again was funny because I thought he was trying to break up with me. Because it was like, go ahead.
So Christmas morning, I'm normally up. I'm up early. So I woke up out of sleep. I'm like, hey,
fidgety.
I need to talk to you about something.
Oh, Lord.
Right, that is not what you say to somebody that you just, we need to talk.
So she pops up. She's like, oh, well, let's talk. She goes,
We're going to do this now.
Yes.
Hold my earring.
We're doing this Christmas Eve. My mom and dad are coming over tomorrow. Are you serious? Yes.
So, but yeah, she jumps up, turns on all the lights and all this and that. And but anyway, she turns on all the lights. So, you know, I go through the whole spiel. We've been together, you know, blah, blah, blah. So I finally asked her to marry me, sitting in the middle of the bed. And
Aww.
so once she calmed herself down and figured out, oh, this is for real.
This is not a breakup.
Yeah.
This is not a breakup.
No, well, he was fidgety. No, he was fidgety all night. And I'm like, why is he acting so weird? And then they're like, you don't say that at 2 a.m. Men don't say we need to talk, regardless.
No.
And I'm like, at 2 a.m. we ain't, okay, we're talking.
I was nervous.
I was like,
He had a ring burn a hole in his pocket.
So yeah, so he proposed, and then we got married in July 2005.
Yeah.
So the 23rd. So this coming up July, we've been married for 11 years. So,
Awesome.
so yeah.
And so
It's been a long
you
time.
already had Tyler, who at this point was
Yes.
how old?
When we started dating again, she was about 2.5.
Yeah, she was about 2. So that was what, 7? When we got married.
Yeah.
So
Somewhere in there,
did you
6,
have
7.
joint custody with her? Were you seeing her much? Was she part? Because I know you were traveling a lot, so I didn't know.
That whole situation is it lived in the courtroom for a long time.
Yeah.
But my visitation was every other weekend, and the holidays, we rotated holidays. Summertime, I want to holler at my kid right now. She would come for the summers for a couple weeks, and then she'd go back home with her mom. But during that time, it was still like me and her mom, we didn't get along too great. So even though there was visitation set up, it was still some days where it's, no, you're not going to see her. Or at one point, they disappeared for a whole year. I didn't know where they were at. She moved to Murfreesboro. And
That's tough.
So.
And that was right before we got married.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
So, it's been a lot with that relationship. But
Has it gotten better over the years?
in a way, yes. There's still some days, sometimes it's kind of a little touchy. 17. She'll be 17 the 15th.
And she's
beautiful.
17.
She's
She's
gorgeous.
so
She'll
really
be 17
is.
on the 17th.
Yeah. But, she, she's a teenager. Mm-hmm. She wants to talk some days. Some days it's, and she's a girl, so. You deal with
Never understand that.
Yeah, right.
Don't even try.
So, y'all pray for me. I still got two other daughters, and it's fun times. Takes strong men to raise girls.
So married in 2005, and you guys weren't in church at that point. You'd been playing house.
Yep.
And so kind of talk about what it was like after you got married. Was there a change as far as now that you were married? Did your relationship change?
It sucked.
Yeah.
What is it about?
Yes,
It
I don't know.
does.
It
It
sucked.
happens.
We've been together for however long.
And it seemed fine.
Yeah.
It did.
Let's see.
It's the wedding cake curse.
I don't know. Let's see. August, September, October. When we get there? In October? November.
It was
3 months in, we were finna get divorced.
Done.
It's done. I'm
Done.
ready to leave. And
Everybody was like, we can just call it a day.
Yeah. Thank you, John Farley.
Well, no, it was funny because I joke sometimes to say he wasn't a good boyfriend, but there was just a lot. He was not a good boyfriend, but it's like I stuck it out. There were moments I really had. So me and him actually had a conversation. We had a conversation at one point, and it was like I had just hit the point where I'm like, I've been in this for so long. He's not going to marry somebody else. But then we
You
had that
are mine.
I was like, I had put up with a lot.
I will keep you and make you miserable, but you're not going anywhere.
Nobody else. But it was really funny though, but then I hit that point like right before, and it was like, okay, either we're in or out. And then everything was kind of fine, and then it's like we got married. I broke it because we got married.
You gave me the ultimatum and you broke it.
Well, but I think, to be all in honesty, I really think it was the devil going, they're not just playing house, they got married. So let me see what I can, and this is looking at in retrospect, what can I do to make this not work? Because they're not screwing it up biblically now. So let me see what I can do to put lots of pressure and lots of things, because it was finances. So in money for me and him was a huge hot button.
Mm-hmm.
So
it is for 70% of couples.
correct. But at that point, it was like, we got to put our money together. And some people didn't like together money as much as others. There were occasional conversations of, but if I put. I'm just going to say to y'all, if I pay my portion of the rent, I won't have any left over. I'm like, and that's whose problem? Not mine. But he was younger, and George was spoiled. So, yes. So I think that was one of those.
That's the sound of the bus. Like he's just.
We know who's driving.
You have a mic. But no, it was just a lot of stuff. So about 3 months in, it was like, and I think for most girls or women, you think you get married and it's like, oh, it's just going to be perfect, and it was like, huh,
For some, it is. For some.
I don't think it is.
I think
for
they're
any.
lying. I think they're lying to themselves.
They are lying.
But I think on the flip side, though, one of the things that did change in him, though, was this is not my girlfriend. I just signed up for making sure I take care of her. Mm-hmm. So I think there was also some pieces in there where he was then now trying to be a husband, and I was still going, this was the guy that was not doing all that great, so I don't think I'm going to listen to you. And I had submission issues to the point where the pastor that we premarital counseled with, when he was talking about the vows we would say, and he was like, submit to your husband. I'm like, I'm not saying that. I was like, I don't say that. I don't submit to anybody. Yet again, before church. I was like, but I don't submit. I was like, I take care of myself. I work really hard. I'm smart. I don't submit to people. And he didn't do a really good job of explaining what that really meant in biblical content. So me and him just kind of argued back and forth for a little while.
That makes me curious. If you weren't in church, why did you go to a pastor for premarital counseling?
He made us do it.
Yeah, didn't have a choice.
Wasn't going to marry you into it.
Yeah, and it was free. And,
yeah.
Yeah, it was free.
And it was sentimental from the idea. It was sentimental in the idea that he had married his mom and dad. So it was, for me, that was one of the things going, it's still integrating in family. Mm-hmm. And since I wasn't going to use the church, it was like, so this was kind of like, well, we'll do this. But me and him literally argued, and George just sat there. He really wanted to leave.
George is going, oh, what am I doing?
Now, I think by the time the pastor started talking, he was like, this
have you ever been somewhere where it's just kind of like, I don't even think I need to be in this argument.
You can't win. You're not going to win.
I'm going to wait out here. Y'all just bring out. Yeah, that's right.
Exactly. Because I did not, so needless to say, I did say it, I think, in the vows, but at that point, you're just saying whatever they say to say.
I sure didn't mean it.
She had her fingers crossed behind her back.
So we went through that, we got married, but I think that was one of the things where he was actually starting to implement what a husband would do. I was like, you can back up, buddy, because I like being in charge. Mm-hmm. To the point where I'll blow everything up in a sense to stay in charge, just to butt heads, to be like, no, I'm going to be dominant. Yes. Yeah. So with all that going on, it was really funny though, because we were both ready to call it quits, and it had been one of those just not so great married days. But 3 months in, that's not supposed to be the picture. But I was sitting in my car. And just crying and just upset. And I'm like, I don't want to do this. This is ridiculous. We're supposed to be in love. We're supposed to be happy, which is still funny when it's like that you have to work in marriage. But, and you're not happy every day. But I was doing that, and I was just bawling. And I started flipping radio stations and happened to flip on, I can't even tell you the song now. It was a gospel song. And all the thing I remember hearing was the song was about giving things over to God. Give it to Him. Hand it to Him. And now the thing about me is I didn't listen to gospel music. I didn't listen to Christian music. If it wasn't rap, I didn't listen to it. Mm-hmm. So even me stopping long enough was a God intervention to even just listen. But I was listening to it, and I turned off the car, and I was like, you know what, God? I'd give all this to you in a minute, but I can't see you. I can't talk to you. How is this supposed to work? I would gladly give you all this mess. And then it was funny because I felt better all of a sudden. I just assumed that to me, just talking out loud and feeling better. Turned off the car, went in the house, didn't think anything about it. Probably went back to us arguing or whatever, I'm sure. And then it's funny because probably about 2 weeks later, or a few days later, I was at work and just broke down. Like, I was in a room by myself. Nobody else was with me. And I'm literally on the floor just in a puddle crying. And, I literally was like, okay, God, if you're real and if you're there, I need you to do something. I need some help because I can't do this anymore. I've done it everybody else's way. I've tried this. I've tried that. I've tried this. So let's go for it. And it was funny because I had a peace over me. Didn't know that what that was really God, peace coming all over me. Went to work the very next day, and John Farley So shout out to John Farley, who was my boss. So in the meantime of me and George right before me and George get married, I got a new boss, which was John Farley, who went to Cornerstone Church, and he would talk about his church. He wasn't pushy, like, wasn't like, come to church. He would invite, but not like, not crazy or anything. But he would just talk about his church, and he would talk about God and stuff. So over that time frame, and I think it was God being able, John was a door, he was a seed sower to be able to get us on track. But I go into work the very next day after having that moment at work, and John just walks up to me and he says, hey, on Sunday, me and Sarah are going to come and take you to church with us. And if your husband wants to come, that's great. And it was funny because at that moment, I didn't realize what I had done the day before that was my first prayer. That was the first time I'd ever prayed, because I actually asked him to help me. And
then you're like, oh, I don't know if I want to go to church with you.
Well, it was funny. I didn't think anything. To be honest, he didn't ask. He didn't say. It wasn't because before he'd been like, you really should come try. And be like, yeah. I've had experiences with churches and people, and church people are, they suck. So when he just walked up and he was like, I'm going to come and we're going to pick you up. And I could have said no, but it was kind of like, okay. And then I came home and I was like, so I'm going to church. You're welcome to come if you want to. But I'm going to go and they're going to pick us up. So you probably should go because we're married. Yeah, it was yet again, and you probably should go.
I'll lay your clothes out.
No, what's funny is he knew how to do church. I was like, I did not feel comfortable just getting in the car and everything. I'm like, they're going to see that I am all messed up, and I am so not the church person or whatever. But they came and picked us up, and we walked literally into the church, and it was funny because I felt relaxed and at home from the time we walked in the door, and which astounded me because I had never felt comfortable anywhere like that other than like at my mom and dad's house, like our home we grew up in. And then we went to Keith and Tasha Cole's Sunday school class because that's whose Sunday class they were in, and he taught on forgiveness. And he talked about it from forgiving other people into forgiving yourself. And I remember just sitting there and just crying. And I was so embarrassed because I'm like, these people don't know me. And I'm sitting here crying.
And I don't cry.
Yes.
I'm out of control.
Correct. I'm having emotions right now that I am not containing well, and people can see me. But it was really funny because that happened, and then we go into church, which I loved it because it was huge. So I'm like, I got lost. I'm like, this is awesome. And, not just that, though. Like, walking into a church where there's, like, so many diverse people. Mm-hmm. And I don't mean just racial, but I mean just backgrounds in general who people are, from, like, bikers to people that was in cars to, like, dressed up business. I mean, just, like, the realm of people felt comfortable.
Right.
And yeah, everybody was friendly.
Because you didn't stand out. You
correct. I just blended in.
Yeah.
So for me, that was awesome because it was like, oh, I just look like everybody else. So for me, that was comforting. For George, on the other hand,
totally opposite. Okay, so before Cornerstone, I had a buddy of mine. His mom used to take us to church. 18, 19. We was the hypocrites that she talked about. Me and my buddy would go out and like we would crash at his house. But his mom was like, if y'all going out, you gonna get up and come to church with me the next day if you gonna be here. So we were like, yes, ma'am. We'll get up and go to church. Yeah. And but it was funny though, because I actually gave my life to God in that church. I got baptized in that church. I was in that church for a year before I backslid and did whatever. That's what I was doing. But walking in the Cornerstone, the small group was cool. But once we got to the sanctuary, the big church, and the curtains opened and the screens came down, and like I'm waiting on the 800 number. I'm used to this very small little Baptist church. Now I'm like, this ain't. I don't know if this is right.
We did. After we got home, he was like, Did you not think that was weird? And I'm like, well, one, I've never really been in church, so aside from maybe Easter's here and there, I'm like, not really. So he was like, you didn't think like a number was gonna pop out or something? I'm like,
You've been watching. I know what you've
Oh,
been
man,
watching.
I didn't know. Yeah, you know, I'm like, what is going to happen?
I think you thought they were about to start saying, come put money down on
Pastor Sarah come out the back screaming. You know how she used to do it. You know, I love Pastor Sarah, by the way. I miss Pastor Sarah. Yeah, I didn't know what to expect. So, but you know, that was what 10 years ago.
Yeah.
No? Yeah, 10 years.
But
ago.
actually, the only reason why he went back is because it affected me so much.
Right.
And I think, and it took him a while to like really start to feel comfortable. Because it was just so big. And he, like I said, he was used to churches that, like, you know, that one little center section was like, well, probably not even all of it. That was what he was used to in size. So it just seemed, I think, was overwhelming
Sure.
for
yeah.
him.
Such a different environment.
Yeah.
You know? Yeah.
Yes.
And
Damn,
then basketball came about, and that was actually what Keith Cole won him over with basketball.
a lot of people don't realize that, man. If you can get a person into a smaller group, I know Pastor preaches it all the time, but if you can get a person into a smaller group, especially if they're not used to big crowds of people, that's the perfect thing. It's a blessing. You know? So
That's what it's for.
Yeah, it
is.
Really.
It's where you truly make connections, not just blend into the crowd, which is nice.
Right.
Well, to
That's
get
how.
that
That's what I
piece in,
like too.
yeah.
Exactly. To
Yeah.
kind of get acclimated, but
Yes.
to truly make the life change, I think you do.
Yeah,
have
for
to
me
get
it was the
connected.
ease in, and I think for him though, but being that he had more experience with church, he had been saved, he had been baptized, and seeing this is bringing peace into the house, he's like, well, I'll go.
Well, what she didn't realize, I have a real good friend, man. Me and him been friends since like 3rd grade. This boy, his family, they were in church for a while, and then his mom and pops, they divorced, and they kind of did their own thing. But before Father had invited her to church, that was one of the things he had told me, because, you know, he was one of the people that I confided in. But he was like, man, y'all need to go to church. Y'all need, you know, y'all need to find God, you know. And it was crazy because, like I said, a week later, she comes with, hey, we're going to church.
Yeah.
Okay.
No pressure. This is what we're doing on Sunday.
It's amazing how God works that way.
It is.
Amen.
You know, and it didn't, that part of the story didn't even hit me until a few years later, when, you know, we were just so happy just been sitting around talking about it.
Yeah.
And it was like, wow, you know.
Like he's lining the pieces up.
Yeah, he did. He lined it up.
And it's funny, you really never do see it until you look back.
Yeah.
You know, unless you're just super tuned in and you're just
Right.
You know, when you're out living the world and you start getting into church, you're not paying attention to what he's doing.
Right.
So I think this is the perfect spot to pause, because we've gotten up to, we're at church now. So I think we'll go ahead and we'll end part 1 right here, just on the cusp of moving into church life and kind of what happened after
I have
that.
a comment before we stop.
Okay.
I think that what I gather out of all of this up to this point is, number 1, don't be the hypocritical person that non-church people are looking at going, really, this is what it is.
Yeah.
And number 2, how easy would it have been for John to not say, hey, we're coming to get you on Sunday.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And how often does the Holy Spirit prompt us to do stuff where maybe we go, oh, that's silly, or they'll think I'm weird, or like your friend loving you enough to say, you need to go to church, you need to find God again in your life. And it's like we become wimps sometimes, and we need to be bolder and be
for sure.
be completely okay for you to get mad at him, but him love you enough to say it, you know.
I will forever be grateful for John and Sarah. Literally, I mean, just being an example. He at work was very much the example of what a church, I don't want to say a church person, but like for those that aren't believers and just see the hypocrites. And by hypocrites, I don't even mean just because you're living like crazy, just the whole thing. He really walked out what you need to be doing as a believer so you don't stray off. You know, the person that's you don't know people's background for what they've had experience with other churches. I think that's the thing. So it's like, you really got to be thinking, am I really being Christ-like today? Like, could I be the reason why this person today turns away from God?
Right.
You know, so.
It's great.
We love the Farleys.
It's awesome.
Go Farleys.
Go for it.
Farley. So yeah, I'll tell you guys on the front end of this, be sure for the next part of this to get you some tissue and some Kleenex, because I'll tell you there probably will be some running high emotion. So go ahead and, as we're taking a break, prepare yourself for this next part. So as always, check us out on the website, sundayeveningcoffee.com. And be sure to send us an email. Let us know what you think, sundayeveningcoffee@gmail.com. And we'll see you back next time for the second part of George and Carlotta's story. So have a great night.